Matzah Shabbos, Rav Nachman even writes, as you do, the Matzah Shabbos is the first eskalos of Mashiach. When the Mashiach doesn't come on Shabbos, Mashiach doesn't need to come on Shabbos. Shabbos is already, Shabbos is already there. And Matzah Shabbos, the beginning of the week, Kollel Kashas, the beginning of the week is the hardest time where you just come off a high, especially Shalshanis like we had. And you go into the beginning of the week and it's dark, it's dismal, and it's difficult. And the light of Mashiach is shining, the light of Eliyahu, the Mavasar Tov is shining. The strongest in the beginning of the week, Mamish, Malava Malka, Sudas David Melech, Malka Mashiach. I'll just say a very, very quick story with Eliyahu Navi. Every story is a story with Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi takes many forms, and sometimes he doesn't take a form. And anything good, any Mavasar Tov, any good Besura, it's Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi's there. There's Chalukei Deis in the Acharonim regarding the following halacha. There's a question, if there's a bris in a shul, so what about other minyanim? What about other minyanim before the bris? What about other minyanim after the bris? What if other minyanim are taking place in the same Beis Knesset at the time of the bris, but they're not mamash start to the bris? There's different opinions. But there's one opinion that holds that if there's a bris in a shul, the whole day there's no tachana, not by mincha, not by shachas, not by mincha. Because the light of Eliyahu Navi that's there, that comes to every bris, is shining so strong that there's no tachana, not by any other minyanim that take place after, not by mincha. Eliyahu Navi is with us, Eliyahu Navi is here, the spirit, that spirit. So there was once a Jew about to marry off some children, a schlepper. Somebody didn't have any parnasa. Mamish didn't have any parnasa. He had no idea how he was going to put bread on his table, and certainly to marry off his daughter and to pay for everything like that. So he didn't know what to do. So he knows there's a gvir. There's always a gvir in the town. In Breslov, we're looking for them. But in Bechlal, there's always like one gvir that saves the day. Taimich, all the institutions, or anything like that. So he knows his address, and he goes to the house of the gvir, and he knocks on the door and he says, "Listen, I know I've been here a million times before, but mamish, I need a loan of like 15,000 ruble, whatever it was." So the Yid looked at him in the face. He wasn't a bad Yid. He wasn't a Yid with our bad character traits. He looked him in the face and he told him, listen, Yankel, he said, Emes, this is not a loan. It's not a loan. I've given you loans in the past. I'm giving you 15,000 rubles. There's no way you're going to pay me back. This is not a loan. He says, until you find me a guarantor, it's not happening. I don't know. If I gave you enough money, mamish I gave you, you're lo yitzlach, you're shlemazel, you can't pull it together. And it's not like you pay me back weekly, monthly. I'm not seeing anything back from all the money that I've given you all these years. He said, if you can go out and get me a guarantor that if you don't pay back, he'll pay me back, so I'm willing to give you a loan. And again, he wasn't like a constant. Like this was just thank you so much. So the Yid was a real Yid. More often than not, the poor Yid, you know? And someone was speaking, Rabbi Taber was saying, sometimes Hashem sends a person difficulty because they mamish need to connect, you know? Hashem needs to call to them. So these Yidden, all they have is Tehillim in the back of a shul. All they have is their connection. All they have is Paseh Sadecha, their belief, their emunah, that somehow they'll get by, like the Talmud or Mountain story, like the fiddler in the story with the king. All the stories are the king, so the story with the very happy guy, he was always happy all the time. So he says, listen, give me a contract, a guarantor contract. I'm going to find a guarantor. I'm going to find a guarantor on this loan to sign off on this loan for me that if I can't come up with the cash, with the funds, he's going to manage. So he laughs at him. He says, you won't find anybody, but here's a contract, here's the paper. The Yid leaves. He goes to shul. And he mamish, tikna klali, tehillim, good tefillas, whatever he had, he was saying. I don't know if he was a Breslover, but if he was a Breslover, that's what he would be saying. If you knew about Breslover, that's what he would be saying. And he's just pouring out his heart to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, Master of the world, please help me find a guarantor. Nobody trusts me anymore in this place. I can't pull it together. But Rebbeinu Shalom, you put me in the world, Baruch Elokeinu asher baranu l'chavaydai. I have to marry off my daughter the way of the world, and malasot. He falls asleep on the paper. When he wakes up, he remembers that there's a pasuk in Nach, and the pasuk says, Li ha-kesef, li ha-zav, no mashem. Master of the world says, all the money is mine. Li ha-kesef, all the silver is mine. Li ha-zav, all the gold is mine. No'um Hashem. Which No'um, the word No'um, all throughout Tanakh means these are the words of God, right? The prophet came, the Navi came, and he said, No'um Hashem, this is what God says. No'um Hashem. But the word No'um, in Hebrew, if you ever saw a contract, you ever were privileged to sign on a contract to any sort of rental or apartment in Israel, so you see on the bottom it says No'um. No'um is like in place in America they have an X, right? Or they have that little sticky note that says sign here. No'um, signed. Signed. So the Yid has such bitachon. He looks up at Rebbeinu Shalom, he says, you're my guarantor. So on the bottom of the paper, it says the whole paper, he writes in the number, and on top of the No'um, he says, Li ha-kesef, li ha-zav, No'um, Yurke Vavke. No'um Hashem. Signed, God. Li ha-kesef, li ha-zav, No'um Hashem. He goes back to the guy. He knocks on the door. He says, I found the guarantor. He's like, no, you didn't. It's impossible. I know this whole town. There's nobody gave you money. He said, look, someone signed here. He takes the paper. He reads the paper, the contract. He sees all the way on the bottom. He says, Li ha-kesef, li ha-zav, No'um Hashem. He had a sense of humor. You know, also like the king in that story. Like at the end of the day, he said, listen, he said, okay, you know, you're a good Yid. I'm going to give you 15,000 ruble. Make your wedding. Do your thing. No'um Hashem. So here the story is very deep. About 3 months later, the Yid slowly but surely, with whatever funds he had, he invested properly. Mazel started opening up for him. And eventually he had a sizable sum that he would be able to go back and a little bit start paying back the 15,000. Had a couple hundred ruble. He knocks on the door of the wealthy man's house. And the maid opens the door and he says, can I speak to so-and-so, your boss? He says, he's not home now. He said, what do you want? He said, I'm here to pay back a loan. He said, you're Yankel? He said, yeah. He said, the loan was $15,000? He said, yeah. He said, you paid already. She said, you paid. He says, what do you mean I paid? He coming now with the first payment on this loan. She said 15 minutes ago somebody knocked on the door and handed me a bag with 15,000 rubles. So where'd he go? What way did he go? I said he just disappeared. Liya kesef, liya zav, no masha. So when Shlomo Carlebach tells the story, he explains, he's masbir. He says, why did the maid get to see? Because the Baal HaBayis didn't even believe it. He doesn't get to see Eliyahu Navi. The maid, Rosh Shivcha. So what's the message, if there's a message? The message is bitachon. The message is have a good sense of humor. The message is life seems very, very complicated a lot of the time, but the truth is it's really pashut. Like, we get all sophisticated with ourselves and like what we are, what we're not, what a human being is, what our das is, what a seichel is. The truth is we don't really know. And the tzaddikim teach us that every person is a light, every person's a neshama, every person has something to bring to the world, and we think it's some concept and it's some high thing, but the truth is it's really not. Because we're used to human beings, so we see us all the time. So they think I'm a person. You tell me about a neshama, a light. Okay, no, but like I'm a human being. I have a nose, a ears, a mouth. If you and I look different, and we would encounter a human being, just a singular human being, it would blow our minds. Like, what is this? What is this? What is a nose, 2 ears, and a mouth? What is that? What's 2 eyes? Arms? Like, what's going on here? We're used to it. Yeah, it's a human body, you know. You to shower it so it doesn't smell. What's going on? But the truth is no. The truth is it's just a vessel for a big aura, a big light, a tremendous light. And when you look at it that way, so everything is very simple. Everything is simple. Yiddishkeit is simple. You could take the whole Gut Moran or Menachem, it's so complicated. Mamish, bechinas, ambechinas, and different doorways and windows, and you could really sum up his whole Indian in like 10 points. Very simple. Amuna, yearning, you know, ratzon, bittul, espoidus, simcha. If we didn't say simcha, say 3 of them: simcha, simcha, and simcha, and then simcha, and then tzaddik, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and mitzvahs for real, mitzvahs with joy, like. But it's really, really, at the end of the day, it's mamish, it's simple. Because if you think about, like, if you're trying to get to the core of something, the core is just a dot. And then there are circles that are masaviv the core. The further away you get from the core, the bigger the circles, the concentric circles go. Because over there, it's far from the etzem. And so over there, everything's very complicated in this whole cycle and whole circle. The closer you get to the emes lamitoy, like the inside, it's pashut. Like people are shocked. Like Rav Nachman is like the deepest thing, but like at the end of the day, the simplest people. It's just simple. It's emunah, it's bitachon, it's simplicity, it's tefillah. It's like, so how do you reconcile these two things? On one hand, it's the das, it's the biggest das in the world, it's the most complicated sefer in the world. But on the other hand, it's so simple because it's mamish at the nekuda. It's there. I don't know if you felt this way, but coming to Uman, and we'll sing more. I apologize for talking so much. But coming to Uman, you feel like you're being drawn, you're being pulled. I told somebody on the bus that if the bus didn't have gas, we'd still be going. We're being drawn, we're whether we like it or not. It's a magnet, it's koach hamoshech until you finally get to the caver and you're there. And I don't know if you have this experience, but I could say Tikkun HaKlali 20,000 times in Yerushalayim, and it doesn't touch one line of Tikkun HaKlali by the sea. And why? There's a psychological aspect of having put a lot of Mesiras Nefesh financially, physically to get here, so you better make this one count. So that's one level, but it's a silly level, it's a stupid level, it's not the truth. The truth is that you're here, this is the center. I always love that the tzin has 2 sides, because it's not like the end, it's the center. Wherever you go, you're there. This is the Nekuda Santzeg, the Evan Shasi of the world, that all the Shefa is flowing down. In this place, you're at the, they were sending out, they had on Pesach, Cholamei Pesach, they were sending out this picture on WhatsApp of a minion that they had by the U.S. Mint. Right? A couple of Yidden from Bar Park took a trip to the U.S. Mint and they're davening over there. So someone said like they're praying at the source, Like mamish at the Mint. Over here's the source. You're praying at the source. You're praying at the source. And so every word matters. Like, for real it matters. For real it matters. This is it. This is the Nekuda Pnimis. And it's all the light of Eliyahu. It's all the light of Mashiach. My father tells me that the first year that he was here, was it 35, how many years ago? 36. Something like that. There were 700 people here. And we think, like now, 60,000. I tell everybody, we're going to tell our grandchildren, I remember Uman, 60,000 people, like, I'm telling you, millions and millions and millions every year. There's hundreds more, thousands more. Until the whole Klien will be here. And the spirit of Mashiach that we feel on Pushkin over here, of Achdus of Jews from all over the world coexisting, focused for one point for Avodas Hashem, the whole Klien will be here. Memela Mashiach will be here. Memela. And that's enough. That's enough. another niggun from a siddur. People don't have siddurim, should have. And to learn the niggun b'akapanim if you don't know them already. Siddurim. What are the siddurim?
In the back.
Huh? In the back? So maybe someone should. Huh? A little higher. Begin Share for a second very quickly. Part of our achana, Shabbos is an Indian on its own. Shabbos and Uman is like, I don't have to tell you, it's something else. And the Rosh Hashanah is coming. Like, don't forget, this is, we came also for Shabbos, but we came for Rosh Hashanah. And it's coming, it's upon us, whether we like it or not, and we love it. So, just to share a tiny thought from Reb Nachman himself on Rosh Hashanah. He talked a lot about Rosh Hashanah. A lot of his memories on Rosh Hashanah are ensconced in very long and complicated mamarim that it's not kedai to go through the whole thing to pick out the one nakuda where he talks about shofar, but there's a couple of times where he talks about Rosh Hashanah keseder, openly, out, clearly. We're going to take one little nakuda and hopefully use it for a little bit of a chizik, and then we'll sing a little bit more. And then I'll let everyone go to Zusha concert. So, and myself. I'd much rather hear him. So there's two Mishnahs in Pirkei Avos. One Mishnah says, Al taden es chavercha ad shetegiya lemekaymai. Can't judge your friend until you're standing in his place. And the other one says, Have you done es kol adam lekavschos? You have to judge every person favorably. So what's going on? Al taden es chavercha. Don't judge him. Have you done es kol adam lekavschos? Have you done al taden? So Rebbe Nachman says that it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Rebbe Nachman says very, very deep. The Rebbe says, you cannot judge anyone else. You just can't. Don't even try, don't start, don't enter into that whole parsha. It's not kedai. You cannot. It's impossible for you. You're not in his place. Because if you would be standing in his place, if you were mamish standing in his shoes, and you knew his whole situation, his whole childhood, his whole Indian, who his parents were, his grandparents were, what community he was in, what yeshiva he went to, what happened to him in 3rd grade, all the different details, who his friends were, who his chaver were, what, then immediately, if you were in his makkah, have you done his kalim kaskos? Easily. Why? And what's the biggest riot to this? The biggest riot is that there's only one person who is standing in his shoes, and it's my own shoes. And it's your own shoes. And we judge ourselves favorably all the time. All the time. We're constantly putting blame on someone else. It's never my fault, ever. It's never my fault. It's never our fault, right? Why? Because we know ourselves. We know ourselves. And we know our Indian, where we're holding, how much we grow and how much we didn't grow. But ultimately, we're able to attribute certain things to other causes, to other influences. Says the Heilige Rebbe Aleinu. We have such a schus to be here. I can't even tell you. I'm sure you all know. We have such a schus that we're part of this gathering. And there's not one person in this room, I hope, if he's lying, who could tell me, like, what mamish? What are we doing here? Mamish. If someone's going to start giving me a speirim, we're here because Rabbi Nachman said to come. Then I could start after that. I could start to be in Mitaretz. It's beautiful. It's been Rosh Hashanah with 60,000 Jews. Why Rabbi Nachman is connected to Rosh Hashanah? But it's way, way, way before that. There was a tzaddik called Rabbi Nachman. And for 200 years, he's been bringing people to the highest levels of Yiras Shamayim, Shmir Seinayim, Simcha Shal Mitzvah. For 200 years, he's been doing this consistently, like he hasn't stopped. And his powers only grown. So when such a person tells me, hey, you know what, it's an investment. You leave your wife for a couple of days in your family and it's not easy, you come to me. Just like you would go on a business trip. Elef Avdalis. Everybody here would, immediately, and all their wives would let them go, right, for a week. If you could come back with $1 million, it's a spiritual investment. Why don't we believe it? Because it's not real, it's not tangible, but it's so tangible. It's so tangible. It's an investment, what we're doing here. It's an investment, it's a schus to be here. So the Heilige Rebbe says like this. A lot of people approach Rosh Hashanah and we think to ourselves like, wow, it's really scary. It's mamash scary, and it is scary. Don't fool yourself. It's awe. Kadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech Machim Melchim. Rabbi Nachman says, Misha writes a kavod shaita. A person who wants honor is a shaita, and he gives a mashal, and he says why? He says, can you imagine if the king had a whole entire empire, and he can't run all the different pieces on his own, so he sends like a viceroy, somebody a second in command to go to one place, and to sit over there and to try to run the thing. Is the air conditioners working? What's going on here?
We switched it off because it was too cold.
Oh, it was too cold for everybody. Is there anybody who would like it back on? Not enough people. No. Okay, Beseder. So this viceroy goes to this place, and since he's so removed from the king, he says to himself, hey, this is a great gig, right? Everything is funded. He can order whatever he wants because he's been in charge of this particular place. And slowly but surely, he starts a little bit getting a crown. And a little bit he starts getting a throne. And the people have never seen the king, never heard of the king, and they start to think that this person's the king. And he mamish has covered from this. And he wears his crown tilted on his head. He's sitting in his throne room. He's ordering whatever he wants. And all the people are mamish treating him like the king. And these are items of covet for him. The throne, the crown, the palace that he's built himself, all the people that he surrounds himself with. It's the inyanim of covet, the garments that he wears, covet. Says Reb Nachman, you know what happens one day? One day the king shows up. The real king shows up. Who actually has access to all the treasures, who actually has real... And he walks into the throne room and he sees this guy sitting there with a crown and everything else, and all the people are wait 1 second. Like, his crown is bigger than your crown, you know? And like, Reb Nachman says that all of the things that yesterday were the biggest covet for him, there's no bigger bizayon. This crown that he's wearing, he can't hide it fast enough. He can't push the throne into like behind some curtains quick enough. It's bizayon. So Reb Nachman says the same thing for all of us. Hashem sends us down to this world to not be in control of anyone else but ourselves. And people try to go ahead and we have this yitzhar to like start to control others, if it's family members or we try to like, until one day and Hashem says, hey, by the way, I'm here, you know. All the things that we thought were covet, it's bizayon. It's the biggest bizayon in the world. It's not worth it. Misha writes a covet who shaites. It's disconnected from the real reality. You're not the king. You're not the king. Would it be possible to close the door? Right? Not the king, bizayon. So it's scary, there's a real king. And the king is revealing himself in the world and he's judging us, and it's not Pashut. And there's a whole Elul. Now is the Ne'ilah of Elul, Amish. The last couple of hours that we have to chaperai in this last day, spend as much time in the tzin as you possibly can. And it's Rosh Hashanah. So Reb Nachman says the deepest thing in the world. Reb Nachman says Hashem doesn't keep his own Torah, huh? Pirkei Avos says, Al tadan es chavercha. Mechatei said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is judging me. Al tadan es chavercha. Says Reb Nachman, you know what follows? Ad shetagia lemekaymai. Says, guess what Chazal tell us about Hashem? Hu mekaymai shel olam ve'ein ha'olam mekaymai. He is the place of the world, which means that every molecule of physicality, although it looks like it's connected to the other, protons, neutrons, quarks, leptons, whatever in this table, it looks like it's all connected to each other and it forms a table. It's not. Because in between all these things, Hashem is the makom of the world. He's the makom. It's not stam that, okay, you have a cup and it just needs a hand to hold it. It's the mitzias of HaKadosh Baruch Hu creating a makom that allows for there to be anything. If there's no makom, memela there's nothing else. Not you have a cup and it has nowhere to go. The cup doesn't exist. Hashem is the makom. It's the makom. It's the halal of the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is holding us. Says Rabbi Nachman, since HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mekayim Shel Olam, He could judge us. Because Al Tadan Es Chavercha Ad Shetegia Lemekayim. Hashem is in our shoes. What do we say about someone who's in our shoes? Who judges us favorably? Someone who's in our shoes. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in our shoes. He's judging us favorably. He's judging us, but He's judging us favorably. That's a big, big nechama for a lot of people. For me, I know it is. Come to Rosh Hashanah, you say, okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a Torah. What does He know for my life? Like, I need to match myself up to what I'm supposed to be, and I'm nowhere near that. And so I'm being judged, so to speak, subjectively from the outside. Did you keep the checklist, or didn't you keep the checklist? And the answer is it's not so. On the one hand, we're being judged how we matched up, how much covet we took for ourselves, and how much we were makir and rattle. Recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the melech, and everything else is bizayon. But on the other hand, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu has also been with us, mamish from our mother's womb and onward from that point. And everything that ever happened to us, our relationship with Hashem didn't start when we had a spiritual awakening. Our relationship with Hashem started the second of conception. The second we became an entity, our relationship with Hashem started. Whether or not we recognize it or not is a side point. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been with us every step of the way, every little nakuda in our lives that slowly but surely became building blocks in the big, huge palace and castle of who we are. Hashem's been with us. That's a big nechama. I want Him to judge me. I need Him to judge me. No one else can judge me. Because He's in my place. He's the Mekayim Shel Olam. He understands me. He understands me. He also knows how I can push myself past those things. But a little bit there's a nechama there. Hashem's holding me. He's loving me. He's with me. It's a very important perspective to have to go into Rosh Hashanah. That on the one hand, Hashem is our melech. He's the king. On the other hand, He's our Av, He's our Father. A king is in a palace 1,000 miles away, you never see him once in your life, maybe you see the king, maybe. Your father is upstairs. Your father is at the table. Av is here. He's here. He's mamish imminent. He's with us. And our relationship with Hashem has to be on these two levels. On the one hand, He's the melech, He's far away, Masav of Kollel min. On the other hand, Mamalim Kollel min. He's with me, He's with us. Should be Zeich Eretz Hashem to daven with these two ideas in mind. With the confidence of being judged by somebody who loves you more than you'll ever love yourself in a million years. Who understands you better than any therapist will understand you in a million years. And He's holding your hand and saying, hey, you can do a little better. I understand everything. I understand it was all Ratzon Hashem, it's all part of the journey. But let's start fresh. Kol Haschala start from Rosh Hashanah. Kol Haschala start from the Tzaddik. And there's no place better to make a new beginning than this moment right now, in this instant, in this second. Hashem should bless us. We should have a Rosh Hashanah. We should go back home feeling like we got what we came for, not to go back and feel like we missed out on something. Do one more nigga. Shabbos.